Hi guys, welcome back to another swing analysis video. So this week we've got Chris. He tells me that his bad shots tend to go to right, or with his short irons he tends to pull left. So we're going to have a look at why that might be today. So I think the one thing that stands out for me at the setup is he does have a little bit too much shaft lean this way. Okay, so we want to have the shaft a little bit more neutral at the start. Now some golfers that have too much shaft lean, what they tend to do on the backswing is they tend to work the club too much to the inside, and that is what happens with Chris. So from the front angle here, it doesn't look too bad, that first move, okay, but we'll see from the back angle the club has worked a little bit too much behind him. Now, if we have a look at how he goes up from there, if we put a little line there where his head is, you can see how his head comes away from that line, it goes down. So that's him steepening the shaft as he goes up, okay, and so if we look at that top of the backswing position there, so he's lost a bit of height, and for me the right elbow or the right arm is too much on top of the left. So he's very narrow with the right arm. The right elbow tends to pull it behind his body too much, and the right arm is too much on top of the left. So it's a very sort of narrow and upright position with the shaft and the right arm at that point. So really what I think we need to do with Chris is first of all get the shaft set more in this position at the start, and then when he goes up from here, what he needs to feel is that his head is staying up. Okay, so we want the heads to stay at that height. And for him, it's going to feel like he's almost lifting up, and he needs to really feel that the right arm doesn't overfold. So he needs to feel that the right elbow works a little bit away from the body and points towards the ground, and he doesn't want to have too much bend in the right arm. Okay, and that's going to allow him to make the right downswing. So what happens here with Chris as he starts down here, you can see that he comes up and out of his posture. You can see the head lifting up above that red line now. So it's almost like he's accelerating and turning too early on the downswing. So when he makes this move here, his shoulders open too much. Okay, he's too open with the shoulders and he's lifted up. So he's not compressing properly into his left foot. So if we have a look at my one here on this side here, what I'm trying to do or try to feel is that I'm compressing that way into the ground, especially into the left foot, okay, as I start down here. Okay, so I'd rather see the head going down slightly at this point than going up. Okay, so we're really trying to compress, and at the same time my arms are dropping down, but I'm not opening the shoulders too much. So I haven't opened the shoulders as much as what he has there. So that opening of the shoulders tends to throw his arms and club too much in front of him, and that's where his pull shots are coming with his short irons, and probably getting a bit of left to right shape on his longer shots, longer clubs. So he needs to really to feel, I mean, on that downswing that he's, like I said, he's compressing into the ground. He's going to feel a little bit more narrow here between the left arm and the club. Okay, so he tends to throw it away a little bit this way. Okay, so he's throwing everything away too early, and then when he comes through, and he says he does hit some shots a bit thin, the club's going to pass the hands too early. He's going to look narrow in this position on the way through. So my swing's going to look wider at that point with the shaft away from the left shoulder there. So that's really a result of his transition. So we're trying to compress into the ground. We're trying to let the arms drop. Okay, and not overturn the shoulders in that first move. So that's his problem there. The head lifting up. He's accelerating to it. He's not compressing into the ground. Okay, and the club's getting thrown away from him. So that is a bit of work, but we really want to get him with that backswing right first. That means setting up with less shaft lean, and then from here he needs to feel that the head's staying up. Okay, the right elbow works a little bit away from the body. The right arm doesn't overfold, and he needs to feel that the right elbow's pointing down towards the ground, and that will get the club more behind him in a flatter position. And then his downswing really needs to feel that he's compressing into the left foot here. Okay, so he needs to compress. He needs to feel narrow as he's coming down, or narrower than he was. Okay, that would mean in this position here. So he's going to feel a little bit narrower and compressing down. He doesn't have to accelerate too much. He's really just letting the arms drop down. Okay, not over. He's going to feel like he's not turning. He's going to feel like the arms are dropping and the body's compressing. And then he's just going to let it go on the way through. Okay guys, so we'll have a look from the back angle now. So we talked about the shaft lean being too much at setup, and that that causes him to get that club in this way too much here. The shaft works in too much this way, and what we really want is to feel like the shaft's sort of more out this way, okay, at that point. So that's easy to do with a more neutral shaft. So that's a big point for him, is to get a more neutral shaft at the start, and then get that club sort of parallel to the feet line here at this point, okay. So from there, then we see that little dip now with the head working down, and see how the shaft will then steepen. So he's got a steep shaft here, and he's got this right elbow pointing out this way. So that's that right arm being too narrow with the right elbow pointing behind. So what he needs to feel from this point here is that his head's staying up, and he's keeping some width there with the shaft away from the shoulder, and he's getting that he needs to learn to get that right elbow to point more down this way at that point. Okay, so we've got the right elbow pointing down rather than pointing out behind him that way. And that's going to allow the shaft to be a little bit flatter in this position, a bit more laid off, rather than crossing the line, getting too steep. So that's really important for him to get the right arm, right elbow working correctly. It's going to feel like it's not folding as much for him, and it's pointing more down, and his head staying up. Okay, and then now if we look at his downswing, you can sort of see here how the hands move out in front there. So that's him not really compressing his body. The head's starting to move up. The shoulders are turning too early, and as the shoulders and upper body turns, that brings the club too much out in front of him here. So his hands and the club are very steep out in front of him there, rather than what he needs to feel is he's compressing into the ground. So he needs to feel the body's compressing this way, okay, especially into the left foot, and he wants to feel that the arms are just dropping down without turning too much. So at that point here, you can see how my hands are more in the midpoint of my body here. My shoulders haven't turned as much as what his have done. Okay, and that's the reason the shaft's a bit shallower and more behind me. And if he can get into that position, then he can just let it go from there, and he'll get more width on his downswing, and he'll get a much better swing path through the ball. But because of that backswing, okay, that right elbow being too steep, and that transition where he doesn't compress into the ground, he doesn't let the arms drop down, he gets into that position. So he's really having to lift up, trying to shallow at the last moment here. Okay, so I think it's a really big thing for him is to get that backswing sorted out, and that initial move down. He needs to feel that he's compressing down into the ground with pressure going into the left foot. The head's almost moving down, that's the feeling, and he needs to feel that the arms are just dropping down. Okay, so the arms will drop down without turning these shoulders too much. He needs to feel that the turn is the last thing that's happening really from about this point here. He needs to feel that he's compressing down, arms dropping, and then he's going to feel rotation through the shot later.
Okay, so what Chris needs to work on is less shaft lean at set up this way. Okay, he needs to get this left arm softer, sort of here, and the hands only slightly in front of the midpoint of the body. From there, he needs to work on keeping the club in front of the body here, this way, not let it get behind him. So it's always going to feel like he's more in the middle here, of the body here, and then from here he needs to get the right elbow to point more down. Okay, he tends to get that way. So the right arm's too much on top of the left, the elbow points too much behind. From the front angle, his arm is too much this way, so it needs to be wider with the elbow pointing down. And then from here, on the downswing, his feeling needs to be that he's compressing into the ground, into the left foot, and he's keeping the shoulders shut off for longer. So he wants to, from here, always extend the body this way, okay, and open the shoulders too early. We need to get him feeling this way, compress into the left foot, keep the shoulders shut off. From the back angle, it's going to look more this way. He tends to get that way.